Welcome to Season 2 of the To Health With That podcast, where we break up big health topics into small bites. I'm Amy, and this season I'll share all the tips, tricks, and hacks you need to get healthy with an MTHFR mutation in a step-by-step, week-by-week process. I can't wait. This week, I'd like to get to some questions that listeners have been kind enough to leave on the website and within the community. The first comes from Liana O, and she says, specific 5L methyl tetrahydrofolate supplement recommendations and dosing, please. So, it's a really common question, and I'm probably not going to answer it in a way that's satisfying because everyone is so different, right? There is no good, like, this is the one size that fits everyone. Also, the products available to people vary so widely that the best I can give are guidelines. In terms of people first starting on this journey, the absolute best, easiest, and most painless way to start is with a multivitamin that doesn't have any folate or B12. To my knowledge, there's only one such product on the market, which is made specifically for MTHFR and by a fellow MTHFR mutant. It's called Optimum Start by Seeking Health. It's a great product. And the Seeking Health will ship internationally from their website, but being located here in Canada, I can tell you that the shipping is almost as much as the supplement, which is a bit disappointing. I do also have an affiliate account with Seeking Health, so if you're ordering products, I would appreciate it if you'd do it via the link from tohealthwiththat.com to support the work I'm doing here. That'd be great. Outside of that, there are a number of great multivitamins with low doses of methylfolate that can be excellent as a starting place. One of my favorites is Smarty Pants, actually. Smarty Pants makes gummy multivitamins, which is great because you cannot put high doses in a gummy. It just doesn't work. Vitamins don't taste good. They have a kids multi-gummy that has a tiny 37.5 micrograms of methylfolate per gummy. It won't give you an adequate dose of everything else you need, but if you've had trouble with methylated folates before, it can still be a really great way to start. Smarty Pants also has great adult gummy vitamins with methylfolate that can be a really nice way to ramp up your intake slowly because typically the dose is split between 4 gummies, and also gummies are really easy to cut in halves or quarters. If you prefer capsules, you're not into the gummy thing, look for high-quality multivitamins that have multiple capsules in the dosage and are made for adolescents or teenagers, so the doses in the capsules aren't high. Some examples are Junior Nutrients from Pure Encapsulations, which has 100 micrograms of folate per capsule, and that is a 5L MTHF form. Thorne Research Multi-NCAP is also a great choice at 130 micrograms of folate per capsule. In general, I prefer to buy from companies that follow good manufacturing practices and who sell primarily through practitioners. So this includes companies like Thorne Research, Integrated Therapeutics, Pure Encapsulations, Zymogen, and Numedica. Da Vinci Labs also makes some nice products, as does Jarrow. At the end of the day, what matters most is local availability and ease of finding the actual thing, right? Because if it's prohibitively difficult, then you're not going to do it. So even if it's via Amazon or similar mail order services, just always look for doses on the low end of the spectrum, especially with the methylfolate and the B12. You can add in higher doses of those ingredients separately, which is always the best strategy because it gives you more flexibility to change those. I know this seems like a non-answer to this question, but the most important thing is to find something that works for you individually. There is no one-size-fits-all. The second question is from Tim, and it is quite honestly sending me on a bit of a hunt. He asks, so even though Marmite says it has folic acid, you're saying it's not folic acid, is that correct? You have me so scared of folic acid that I don't want to be eating it. Thanks. Now, everyone knows about my obsession with Marmite. It's a yeast extract quite similar to the one that was used in the initial research that found folate to be an important nutrient for pregnancy. Outside of being a huge fan, I have always been under the impression that it was unfortified and that all the folate present was directly linked to the natural byproducts of the yeast. I am at this moment fearful that I may actually be mistaken about this. So, I do have a question pending with Unilever, the current manufacturers of Marmite, but so far it remains unanswered. The label information is a little bit frustrating. The Food Standards Agency, which is UK's food regulation authority, also has a folic acid fortification program with wheat flour, but I can't find whether or not the terms folic acid and folate are considered to be legally equivalent. If anybody from the UK can shed some light on that matter for me, I would appreciate it. Just shoot me an email, amy@tohealthwiththat.com. I do know that the bottle in my pantry lists the ingredients as yeast extract, salt, dehydrated carrots, spice extract, dehydrated onions, and that's all. That's where the ingredient list stops. There is no mention of additional vitamins or fortification, which in Canada is a legal requirement. So the label is definitely following Canadian guidelines in other ways because it has all of the nutritional information in both official languages, which it wouldn't if it was just imported from another country and following their guidelines. So I called the information number on my bottle and left a message, which also has yet to be answered. I also, quote-unquote, spoke with the Marmite website chatbot from the UK Marmite manufacturer. And I hate to say the chatbot listed ingredients that I don't see on my label. According to the Marmite chatbot, it includes vitamins, and one of those is folic acid. Sigh. So obviously, this still requires some investigation, because if there is folic acid on there, then why isn't it on my label? Also, how much is there, right? So on the UK website, it lists 100 microgram dose per 8 grams serving. But is that all folic acid, or does that include some of the natural folate? It's all a bit confusing at this point. I will absolutely update you when I hear from Unilever or the Canadian Helpline, because the contradiction in information doesn't make a lot of sense. It could be that there's a difference in the formulas, depending on country, but it seems like the label would be far easier to change than the actual product. Just to address kind of a side point of Tim's question, Tim mentions the fear of folic acid. And this is something I want to talk about because while I'm not a fan of folic acid, the problems actually occur when it's folic acid in high doses. Small amounts just slowly labor on in the process of being converted to something useful like 5L-MTHF, but they do eventually get there. So a small amount of folic acid isn't going to be a problem, as far as I know, if you're just getting it from one known source like the Marmite, which still has good natural folates as well. When it becomes a problem is when it's the only source, when folic acid is the only source of folate and you're getting it everywhere. All the fortified grains, your multivitamins, some prescriptions, etc. So that's when we see folic acid building up and the unmetabolized folic acid, and also folic acid gumming up the works of the methylation pathway and generally slowing it down for everybody. There is probably a safe threshold, but to my knowledge, that research doesn't really exist yet. So at this point, minimizing intake is the safest bet. So since Marmite is now in uncertain territory, not that I'm entirely willing to give it up, it will still be a part of my diet, I have to tell you. But since it is uncertain, I will give you some other options. So one of my favorites is Nutritional Yeast. It has this delicious, cheesy, nutty umami flavor. And it's easy to sprinkle on popcorn, add to sauces, sprinkle over veggies, or use as an additional flavor burst in things like salad dressings. Like everything else with food, it's a little bit complicated. If your package doesn't mention anything, then it's likely fortified, which means they've added extra B12, folic acid, and probably a few other B vitamins into the mix. This is kind of standard, and so if they just say it's a good source of B vitamins, then they've probably added them. Also, the fortification gives the flakes a bright yellow color, more like a true yellow. Nutritional yeast is also available unfortified, but you have to hunt for it. I can't find any unfortified at my local stores, but I can on Amazon, so I order a big bag once a year and that's that. The unfortified tastes just as good, but the color's a bit more gentle, more of a buttery yellow rather than a bright yellow. If you have some in your pantry right now, check the color. I'll put a picture in the show notes so you can compare. Thank you so much for listening today, and thanks Liana and Tim for the great questions. Make sure you're signed up for the email list. You can find that at tohealthwiththat.com so that you're the first to know about upcoming courses, because we've got upcoming courses. Thanks again.